Section 1, Part 1. We're going to use a measuring line to help us lay out this drawing. Taking a look at it, you can see it's a large residential room. You can see a furniture grouping here, sofa, small little table, 2 chairs, one at an angle to the picture plane. And over here, a conversation grouping of 4 chairs and a coffee table, a tile floor, and along this wall you can see there's sliding glass doors that pull off to the left, and a view deck here. Let's just kind of assume that this is a room overlooking the ocean. And what I'm going to do is use measuring lines to lay this out. I'm also going to use some skills that we developed in Lesson 3 and Lesson 4. I'm going to do this drawing pretty quickly and lay it out using a Sharpie pen. And in Part 2 of this video demonstration, I will do a really quick grayscale thumbnail. It won't be a completed drawing, but I just want to do grayscale marker to kind of get an idea about value and contrast, and then I can assess that drawing to do a final. And you're going to be doing the final as a homework assignment. I'm not going to be doing a final as a video demonstration. So let's start this drawing, as we do all of our drawings, with a horizon line and vanishing points. And this time I can look at this drawing again and take a closer look at the cone of vision, which I laid out here. So you can see if I was standing in this point, looking at this room within the cone of vision, so the drawing does not get distorted, I would see about half the sofa, part of this chair in the foreground, and then I would see the window wall, the deck, the fireplace, and this half of the drawing. So I'm going to kind of lay the drawing out as though I'm starting right at this point, which would be 3, 6, 12, 15, about 22 feet. So I want to estimate 22 feet, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to start at the 20-foot mark away from the corner of the room. So the corner of the room would be down here. This would be my right-hand wall at the 22-foot mark. So I am going to go back to what we learned in Lesson 3 and estimate a cube or a square in perspective. And then if I divide this square in half, I can go from the opposite corner through the midpoint up to my extension line and down. Since this is going to be an 11-foot high ceiling, this would represent about 22 feet of space. From this vanishing point, I can do my opposite wall. And now I want to scale off this wall, the wall that I just drew. I'm going to straighten up this line. I want to scale this wall off so I can show the proportions in the corner of the room, the corner of this wall, as about a 5.5-foot sofa, a 1-foot table, a 6-foot opening, and then my 2 chairs and spaces. And so I will draw a measuring line that is parallel with the horizon line. And I'm going to divide this measuring line off into these increments. So I'll start with the middle of the sofa, and I'm just going to draw these by hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet of space for the sofa, about another foot for the little side table, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet of space for the aisle, 1, 2, 3 feet of space for the first chair. There is a 1-foot space, and then the second chair is about 3 feet wide. And then there's 1, 2, 3.5 feet for the rest of the room, rest of the wall, up to the corner. From the end of my measuring line through the end of my estimated 22-foot wall, I will connect the end of the measuring line, the end of the wall, and run that line up to the horizon line. And when it hits the horizon line, this becomes a measuring point. Now I can use my scaled line, measuring line here, and I will start with about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet of space from my measuring point. There's where the sofa would end. And now I want to have about another foot of space for that side table. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 foot of space up to the measuring point from my measuring line. There's the 6 foot. And then 1, 2, a 3 foot chair, a 1 foot space. All these lines are going up to the measuring line. And I got a little confused here, so I'm going to go back the other direction now. Half, 1, 2, 3 feet, and that would be the end of the second chair. So I've got the important measurements. The sofa, the little side table, sofa, at least part of it, side table, the space between the end of the side table and my two chairs, and the end of the room. Now, I don't have to use this measuring line again for anything. So what I'm going to do is just lay down a little bit of color on the floor, and that's going to help me erase a little bit of this measuring line, which I don't really need. And I can see my 3 marker is almost out of ink. So I'll just take a 4, and that's a little wetter. So it should help me erase some of these lines that I no longer need in my drawing. And I will just put a few of these lines on my drawing. And now I've got the indications on this wall that I really need. So I'm going to go back now and use my right and left vanishing points. So you can see my left vanishing point, and I will draw a line representing the edge of the sofa and the edge of the table. And I could actually do another measuring line on the left wall, but I don't think I have to. I'm going to rely more on my sense of scale and sense of proportion to get this room laid out a little more reasonably. So there would be estimating about 3 feet, 3.5 feet from the back wall. My chair is going to be located right here. I'm going from the vanishing point through my measuring indications, 1 foot of space between the chair, and then my last chair is right in here. Let's estimate now the depth of the chair. Chairs are going to be about 3 feet deep. And what I'm going to do to finish off my drawing is I'm going to draw the floor plan of this room in perspective. I was off just a little bit on this line. I'll put in the small coffee table. And I am now relying completely on my eye, my sense of scale, my sense of proportion to kind of finish this room off. There is a chair that is turned to the picture plane. You can see that chair right here. It's angled. So that is going to use different vanishing points. And since the chair is turned parallel to the picture plane, I can actually turn this into a 1-point perspective. So I'll just estimate the perspective point right here, run that line down, and you can see I've got that chair turned to the picture plane. On this side is an ottoman and a fairly large scale chair. This is getting outside the cone of vision. So we will see, you can see it's looking a little exaggerated right here at the bottom of the drawing. And we will decide later when we crop this drawing just how much of that chair, if any, we want to see. I'll put in the other coffee table, and I can see that these 2 chairs are going to be slightly outside the cone of vision, but I'm going to add them to my floor plan here, and we'll decide later if they are too much outside the cone of vision to make the drawing look believable, and if it's not, we'll just crop them out. My sense is that they're going to get a little distorted. So now you can see I've got the long sofa, this chair with an ottoman, my chair turned to the picture plane, the furniture grouping here. Let's add in a little more detail. And since I'm working from a floor plan now, I've got an opportunity to maybe think about this room from a design standpoint. So I'm just going to add soffitted ceiling here. And I can draw that in lightly. Maybe what would be neat is just putting in a couple of downlights along this wall. And of course, that's the minor axis. Thinking of my downlight as a cylinder going up into the wall, the minor axis is vertical, and the major axis is at 90 degrees. And then I can just put in some little ellipses representing those lights. And the ceiling can continue up slightly above this soffitted area. At the edge of the room here, I've got my thick wall, which is going to be the wall where the sliding glass windows are going to recess. So I'll put in a few of these window indications. Now there's a deck outside, so I'll put the deck out. And the horizon line, let's imagine that's an ocean. And to give it just a little bit of landscape or land, I'll put in a little hill here. And then on the deck itself, we can put a railing looking over maybe a steep cliff down into the ocean. On this wall, let's add one of these long fireplaces. Maybe it's using gel or something else here to get the flame, but it's a little unusual of a proportion, which maybe will make it kind of interesting. And then right above that, we'll run a mantle. I think this end is going to get outside the cone of vision. I probably won't include it when I do my final drawing. Maybe on this side we could put a couple long, tall pictures. I'll line them up with the top of the window opening. And now let's bring the furniture up from the ground. And I could scale this back wall to be 11 feet and then project all my height lines. But I'm going to rely more on my eye right now. And we'll do this sofa. I think the seat might look interesting at a slight angle. And the seat height will be about this high, a little cushion. Let's make a small arm. We'll drop the seat back slightly. Coming out. These are the cushions on the seat. And let's follow that up, kind of a low back sofa. And I'll put in a little bit of detail here for the legs. We'll bring the coffee table up. It's a pretty small one, just a little cube. Back to the vanishing point. In this technique that I'm doing, it's really a very quick drawing, but it can be used as a design sketch rather than just a presentation sketch. I am actually kind of thinking three-dimensionally here. I'm designing this room as I'm drawing it. Let's put some little feet on this chair. There is some depth to the chair. And now I'm going back to my vanishing point, my one-point perspective for this chair, and this chair only, because it is turned to the picture plane. My big chair here in the corner, we can start out with an ottoman, and that's about the same height as the sofa seat. So we'll put the ottoman in first, and then we'll add the seat for the chair. And I know that I'm getting slightly outside the cone of vision on this chair. And I can tell that when I look at my floor plan and see this cone of vision of about 60 degrees. This edge of the chair is going to look a little distorted. And that's just the nature of perspective. When you get outside that cone of vision, things do look distorted. And sometimes you can use that to good effect. Let's put a little cushion on this sofa, or I'm sorry, on this chair here. Make it look just a little more comfortable. I didn't put any arms on it. Maybe there's even a little button here on it. And now let's put up our last chairs. We'll just bring those off the ground. Bring the coffee table up. The coffee table is going to go back to the vanishing point. I may be doing this drawing a little faster than what you, for a homework assignment, are going to be doing it. Let's make it an armchair on this side. And bring up the arm on the back side. Run it back to the vanishing point. Chair back. Seat height. And now I've just got one more chair to kind of rough in. It's got the same angle on the seat back. This chair is looking a little, maybe a little narrower than I actually want it. I'll just cheat that a little bit so it looks right. And that's what's really important. These layouts, these measuring lines, can only take you so far, and it will never replace your sense of scale, your sense of proportion that you develop as you do more and more of these drawings. I just want to put in a few last lines here. And I think what I'm going to do is maybe add a little bit of this tile floor that is carried all the way through the drawing. And now, again, I'm going to rely more on my sense of scale to put this in, just my eye, rather than trying to overdo it. Oh, I guess there is a little area rug here on both sides too. Let's get that in. Area rug will come out. It'll capture a little part of this chair. And then back, I'm completing the tile floor. And then we'll call this video complete. And we will spend a little bit of time rendering this. Now, I shouldn't really say rendering it. I'm not going to render it. What I'm just going to do is do kind of a thumbnail grayscale study. And then ordinarily, I would use this to complete my finished drawing. Just adding a little bit of the tile floor here. And there we've got the layout. You can kind of see I'm looking out this big window and I'm carrying it a little further forward into my drawing. And I've got the full sofa, the chair in the front with the ottoman, the coffee table, the chair turned to the picture plane, 2 chairs in the background, a coffee table, and a long fireplace. And maybe I'll put just a few little things on the mantelpiece here. And maybe there's a little something in here. We'll figure that out when we do the drawing. And there's the completed sketch, or the completed line drawing, and now I'll add a little grayscale to complete the rough or the thumbnail.